Lightning to the Nation 2020 is a very weird beast for a few reasons. I'll start by sharing my concerns for the album. Yeah, that seems like a good place to start. First off, this isn't a live album, a compilation, or even a simple re-release. No, Lightning to the Nation 2020 is a total ground-up remake of Diamond Head's debut album, and depending on who you're talking to, it's not even the first attempt of a remake. A few of the tracks were re-recorded for their second album, Borrowed Time. The second reason is music is one of the few, if not only, industries that doesn't really do remakes, or at least in the sense of what Diamond Head have accomplished. The only other one I can think of is the comic industry, even though they repeat themselves a lot. I don't know why, but if I had to guess, it would simply come from the fact that bands and music popularity didn't last very long, so no one could guess who to remake or if there was even an audience for that remake. Once that factor came in, unfortunately we entered the era of YouTube and Spotify, making music pretty much lose its monetary value. I think another factor is the band lineup, especially if it's so different. It just eventually comes to the question of, is the album a remake or just a weird cover album? Technically, Diamond Head has got this issue as well, with the fact that lead guitarist Brian Tatler is the only remaining member who wrote and recorded the original album. Hell, he is the only original member. Even then, what if you got the old lineup? Do they still have the edge to record an album that was made by 20-year-olds or even younger at the time and still pull off that same energy? There's a lot of factors to essentially say this is a really stupid idea. Diamond Head though, they said bugger that. We're celebrating our album's 40th anniversary how we want to. And honestly, I respect the guts it took to remake the album. Question is, can they pull it off? Even before I listened to this album, I had faith in this lineup of Diamond Head. Other than a change of bassist, they have been together since the band's rebirth with their 2016 self-named album, and goddamn, that album is bloody brilliant. They then followed it up with the excellent Coffin Train album. Not as good as their 2016 album, but it still proved that it wasn't a fluke at all, that one. This lineup had proved themselves in the studio. But live, oh my god. I've seen these guys pretty regularly for the past few years, since 2017 I like to say. And I only went because a mate just like, oh you gotta come, they're pretty cool to watch. And I've never listened to them before. And, oh my god, I was converted after one gig. But the second time I saw them, I haven't got a bloody clue what happened there, but the planets aligned. It was single-handedly one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. The downside was that the audience sucked ass. When singer Rasmus, I believe his name is pronounced, I'm going to butcher that, I know that for a fact, tried to get the audience moving a bit, they didn't care. If he was asking for a mosh pit, I get it, it wasn't that audience, there were a lot of old people there in their 40s, 50s. But it was simple stuff as throwing the devil horns and just singing along. The guy's a great frontman at any other gig I've seen him at. He does really well. I felt so embarrassed by the audience, I actually emailed Diamond Head to apologise. They replied saying it was cool and they were glad I enjoyed the show. I'm just happy they even replied, to be honest. But to cap off a long story, they're great, if not brilliant live. So I had faith they could pull this off. Right, let's get into the album. So what you got here is an album written in the 70s, but recorded with the technology of now. And for better or worse, it shows. And it's normally leading towards better. Diamond Head wears its influences on its sleeves, with riffs inspired by bands like Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, which you can easily hear throughout the album. But if we're going to pick personal favourite tracks, you got stuff like I Am Evil, which is, the hit, Lightning to the Nation, and surprisingly this one called It's Electric. Oh, the chorus on that is brilliant. Basically, if you're a fan of Black Sabbath and Deep Purple in particular, you're going to like this album. Some cool stuff that I like is it has some dual guitar stuff in certain places, especially in the track Sucking My Love. I just really like the lead guitar work in general. I haven't got a clue if the new solos are the same. You're going to have to ask your dad for that sort of info, but the solos do include a lot of tasty looks, and you can hear groups like Thin Lizzy, AC/DC, UFO. I can easily hear Michael Schenker in the solos. Maybe a bit of Richie Blackmore as well. All the stuff I kind of like, so I ain't complaining. One other thing is that the vocals are just far better than the original. Rasmus is just simply far better than the original singer Sean Harris. I'm going to assume it's pronounced Sean, it's spelled Sheen. I hate the spelling. The three Seans, ain't it? Anyway, he's got incredible range, power and occasional grit to his voice that Sean could never match. This adds a new dimension to the vocals and in turn lyrics as well. Now, I will admit, Rasmus does have a bit of an advantage of having more time to record the backing vocals for harmonies and such, because, you know, the original record's recorded in like 5 minutes or so. Stuff like the chorus to It's Electric proves that in its own right. I think the only two things that'll turn people off is the lineup, which I get it's not the original lineup, but give it a chance. They're brilliant. And two, is the production. Don't get me wrong, the production is brilliant. Everything is so clear. The guitars are gritty and beefy. The guitars are far more gritty and beefier than they ever were. Tuning the guitars to E flat adds that little bit of bass to them, which just makes everything sound a bit fatter, which is a great idea. But I'm also happy that the guitars aren't caked in game, giving the riffs ability to breathe essentially. You can even hear slightly cleanish sounds on some of the licks and stuff in certain tracks. The drums are so tight, the vocals are in your face compared to the original. This album has been given the tech, time and money it truly deserves, and it shows. But I can see why people say it's a little overproduced in certain places. Am I Evil, being the big song of the album, has received the most attention, and it shows in that intro in particular. You know, you got lightning and stuff like that. It can be a touch much, but the old one still has charm. That's why some people would see it like that. There's something very raw with a bunch of teenagers recording it to what is the equivalent of a toaster these days. But to be honest, the current lineup still pulls this off. I like the production value added to the album. Am I Evil is way more evil sounding, and it sounds way fatter than the original. And its main riff still wants to kick you in the teeth to an even stronger degree thanks to the new lineup and production. Finally, there's a bit of a free EP that comes with the album. See, it's not really considered a good idea to release an album with 7 songs these days, so they decided to add on 4 cover songs as well. That's not a bad idea, why not? The first being a Metallica cover of No Remorse. What a great way to pay forward what Metallica has done for the group. And I love this song. I think it's far better than the Metallica original, though I am a bit biased on that. Rasmus pulls off a great young Hetfield, hell, a far better version he could ever pull off back in the day, and the grit of the song's still there. It's a great celebration of the two bands' relationships together, in my opinion, and I respect Diamond Head for doing it. It's nice to see him pay it forward a bit. Next are more tributes to the band's idols, as you get a surprisingly good cover of Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song. I was excited to hear Rasmus take a crack at that intro, and God does he deliver. One other thing that surprised me on that track as well was the drum groove was brilliant. I just loved it. It's proper sort of thing, you know what I mean? Nod your head forward like a pigeon sort of style. Brilliant cover. Sadly, the next song I got mixed feelings on. Sinner by Judas Priest. Priest has never interested me, and to be fair, I've never properly listened to them, and this song didn't do it for me. It was alright, but I feel like two songs smashed together. Maybe one day I'll get a Judas Priest album and do a video on it. So give me some recommendations in the comments, guys. Finally, Rat Bat Blue by Deep Purple. Now, I love a bit of Deep Purple, and damn, Diamond Head does a good job on this. I must admit, the production is too clean and metalish for this sort of track, but it's a really good performance. But I did prefer the original. Deep Purple, especially, you just can't top the Richie Blackmore thing, John Lord and all that sort of stuff. They got that. I like that old recording style for them. It really suits the song. It's a bit too clean on this one, that's all. Anyway, this album is definitely something from the late 70s. So if you're not into that, look elsewhere. But if you're looking for that kind of riffage but with modern technology, I don't think you'll find an album better than this. It's I 100% recommend this, and if you never listened to Diamond Head before, this is an album I definitely recommend to start with. Then maybe the 2016 one afterwards, which is also called Diamond Head. So yeah, 100% recommend Lightning to the Nation 2020. Right, thank you for watching everyone. Like, subscribe and hit that bell if you want more content. Bye.